So why wouldn't you want to trade with money? Why wouldn't you want to be part of the monetary system? Well, money, like credit, is a double-edged sword. And it's got its uses. There's no doubt about it. It's accepted by so many people as a universal unit of exchange, or as I like to call it, production credits. And when so many people are sort of all in this system, it makes a lot of sense to trade with money if so many people, are willing to participate in the financial system that is the money system we have today. But if you've ever sort of had much to do with selling or buying from foreign countries, or even, had much to do with currency exchange or the stock market and things like that, you'll know there's crazy things that can happen in the stock market. Rumour can go through that it's not officially announced, but secretly somebody's bankrupt. And you watch what happens to the share price. It just goes straight down. There was a vitamin company over here a number of years ago, and what they were doing was they were substituting stuff, and they were selling like herbs and different things. One of them was shark cartilage, and that's supposed to help you with a particular ailment or whatever. And that in itself, we don't have a Nazi-fied FDA over here. Chinese medicine's fine, herbal medicine's fine, acupuncture's fine, even aromatherapy is considered legit. Them selling those things in and of themselves weren't a trouble, but the trouble was they weren't actually selling them. They were substituting shark cartilage for beef cartilage, and all these things were getting all substituted for something different. Well, I think the government may have ordered a freeze on the share price, on share trading or whatever. It didn't matter. In the space of the first afternoon, it dropped down to like a quarter of the value of what it was. Within 3 days, it was worthless. It was junk stock. It was just, on the phone to your stockbroker, I want those share certificates because I need some more mulch because I run out of mulch for my trees. That's sort of what it was like. It was like Enron, it just hit the ground. But this hit the ground literally in about 3 days. It was also revealed that what they were doing was any of the dust that come out of the machines, they'd sweep off the floor and re-put back into the thing that made the tablets, along with, maybe a bit of dirt that they'd got on their feet or whatever. That was the other hygiene concern, but that joint hit the wall. And, you've seen plenty of others, I'm sure. Some where the rumours aren't even true that have affected the share price. But you'd be surprised to know, and it does have it written in the Terra White Paper, I think, that something like 85% of currency exchange flows are purely speculative. That means that people have one currency, they get it converted into another currency with the hope that that other currency is going to rise in value, and then they can resell it back into the original currency, into gold, into something else, and basically have made a profit. But this does affect foreign trade quite a bit. And there's quite a lot of large companies that have realised that money is not the real answer because of the dramatic ups and downs that currency exchange rates can experience. And, they've had times where they've signed contracts to say, we'll sell you this at a certain amount of price. And they sign the contract now, and then when it arrives over in there, in the other country 6 weeks later, that's when the payment's got to be made when they receive it. But it goes over there on the ship, takes 6 weeks to get it. In that time, the currency exchange rate is altered, and they go from making a profit when they signed the contract. They would have been making a profit, but when the goods were received and they had to pay the money, the currency exchange rates change, and they make a loss on something that they're going to make a profit on. This is a thing, especially with things that don't have very big profit margins or very competitive markets. but this is the whole point. You have production, you have trade, and one of the cogs in there is often money. Now, if that money cog has issues, breaks a few teeth, slips, starts shaking a bit, something happens with the currency exchange, share prices, rumours of a coup affecting a whole stack of different shares, such as military manufacturers and oil trade, and especially currency exchange rate. Rumours of a coup can change a lot. But even when you have things like credit crunch, inflation, things that can happen inside one country, these can dramatically affect trade between individuals or even between companies who were on their own productive and competitive. And it's because this one cog in the system screws up, it can affect something that on its own would have worked absolutely fine because they were competitive, they were productive, things were running good. But just that cog called financial exchange rate, or currency exchange rate rather, or whatever, that money dimension can sort of throw things out of whack. And you can have cases where people basically run into bankruptcy, made broke, run into the ground by no fault of their own, but purely by money circumstances out of their control, such as a stampede of sell, sell, sell in the stock exchange, when that herd mentality causes a stampede and the shares just go and just take a dive. For no real reason in particular, aside from, well, I'm selling because everybody else is selling and everybody just knows that things are bad, when 2 weeks ago everybody just knew that things were good. And all this can sort of, force productive things into bankruptcy that were otherwise fine. So if you can sort of take that dimension out of your trade, then you're going ahead a long way. And you say, fiat currency, if we trade in gold, we'll be fine. Well, there's another one that other countries do, companies do rather, who deal internationally. Not all of them do this, but there's a whole stack who have worked out that this is the best way to go, that they are better to disconnect from money, especially if it's dealing with selling stuff to foreign companies. One of the best known ones is Pepsi. Sells Pepsi to Russia. They don't take the payments in rubles. They don't take the payments in rubles converted back to US dollars. They take the payments in Stolichnaya vodka. That Stolichnaya vodka is imported back into the United States and sold in the United States. And that allows, it's like a barter system in effect. And it cuts out this disruptions caused by the low value of the ruble and all these sort of inflation problems that they sort of experience almost the whole history of Russia in the last 100 years anyway. And, there's a lot of companies that have worked that out. They also may say to their customers, look, we supply you with steel, pre-smelted RHS, I-beams, things like that. Can you please pay us in coal because we know you have coal mines in your country? So the steel maker who sells to the car manufacturer gets the car manufacturer to buy coal and send coal back instead of sending back money. And this sort of takes out the problems of any sort of effects that your money will have on your trade when it goes up the crapper. And this is being used quite a lot by large companies. But the thing is, you can also apply it to your small business to trade inside your own nation, because let's face it, you can have inflation or a credit crunch inside your own nation, which can affect trade, and that's the money dimension. You might have productive customers, you've got a productive business, your customers are competitive, you're competitive, but then you're affected by a credit crunch or by really bad inflation or something like that. So if you can sort of knock that out, and people say, oh, well, hang on a minute, that means you're going to be, exchanging diesel or propane or something, coal or whatever, with your customers and not get money. Oh, that's against tax. Well, it is a bit of a scratchy one that the IRS or the tax office mightn't like you to do a great heap. But I think they have actually already worked out a way, international trade-wise, to sort of stick their nose in to this. At least, I think they may have in the United States or maybe here, I can't remember. But, it's a way that you can sort of use barter, essentially, to take you and your customers out of the effects of this money system that can be affected by outside influences such as the printing presses going crazy down at the Federal Reserve, and so on and so forth. And, I encourage you to look into it because, it'll lessen the effect. Even if you take 80% of your payment in a raw material that you use in your business, it'll lessen any effects of any crazy financial shenanigans on you, your business, your trade, and effectively, if you're going to have anything left after a big shake-up in the economy that wasn't necessarily caused by you, that was caused by speculative buying, investors in the stock market getting freaked out, something the Federal Reserve done, something where China put its fist down and said we want our money back, something where there's a credit crunch, by American banks at Americans or whatever, So it's worth looking into, but money's great because it's accepted universally, but it's a double-edged sword, So I sort of put that one up because you may save yourself a lot of grief by taking payment in propane, and people go, oh, well, gold. I understand a bit with gold. It's better than fiat currency, but what I really like is commodity currency, because at the end of the day, you can't light up a piece of gold and keep you warm in the middle of winter when there's snow all over the place. You can with coal, you can with propane, you can even with firewood. And when food's in short supply, you can't always eat gold either, So that's one to think about. A lot of people trust gold. I've sort of got a bit of hesitations because I think when things are really hard, people ain't going to be willing to exchange what then becomes just a hunk of metal for food when there's a famine going down, when there's something that's really going awry with disease of food or something strange like that.